All right, so we are joined from the Jackson Medgar Wiley Evers International Airport by my friend, my high school classmate, my college classmate, Tina Terry, HR specialist there with the Transportation Security Administration. Happy homecoming to our Jags. So we're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County Schools, Madison Central, Ridgeland, Germantown, the Academic Options Center, and I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson, and we'll get to some great questions from them. But you're there with the Transportation Security Administration. Federal government job, one of the best agencies you can get involved in that our young people should really look into, and all the opportunities that you guys offer. And you've had an incredible journey yourself being a product of Madison County Schools. So we look forward to hearing what all you have to offer. And, take us from the beginning, Madison Central High School and then University of Southern Mississippi. And you didn't think you'd be where you are now.
Honestly, no. So I am one of those that did not know what I wanted to do in life. I changed my major 3 times in college. It's okay if you don't know what you want to do right now. I worked for a small law firm right before I started TSA. I started TSA in 2008 as a part-time transportation security officer. I'm sure Greg has showed you the videos and what transportation security officers or TSOs do or in the life of a TSO. I worked my way through what we call the coordination center where it's like an operations center where we take in incidents and manage operations calls and things. I went through admin onto the admin side through Baton Rouge, made my way to Dallas. I did work under the headquarters out of Dallas field office under legal. I made my way back to Jackson as HR assistant. I dabbled a little bit as the acting assistant federal security director for the last year up until this past July. And now I'm back to my original position as the human resources specialist for the state of Mississippi. And we cover all the airports in Mississippi. If you didn't know, we have more than one airport in
Oh,
Mississippi. We have, I always
go for it.
7. We have 7 airports.
Yeah.
So we have Greenville, Gulfport, Columbus, Jackson, Meridian, Hattiesburg. Tupelo's privatized, but we still kind of we oversee their screening procedures. So
Wow.
it's
I
at
did
six
not know that.
different.
That's awesome.
We
So,
used to have 10, yeah.
yeah, I think that's a perfect example of, so many of these kids, whether they want to go to college or not, there are multiple entry points into this agency. And the benefits
Yes.
are great. So before anybody even gets into it, the federal government has some of the best benefits of anything in the world. So you started as part-time. So take us through, once somebody gets their foot in the door, how the hiring process and what all they get as far as benefits, because it really is tough to beat.
Yes. So we are one of the few federal agencies that offer well, full full federal government benefits to part-time employees.
Wow.
Whether that's retirement, health insurance, dental, life insurance. You get an optional other retirement that you can contribute as much as you want. And TSA will match up to 5%. You may not understand that now, but believe me, you want to invest in retirement as early as you can because it's possible to retire with $1 million if you put forth in it as early as you can. I've seen it happen. I've seen people retire with 6 figures. It's possible. Um, and also with the opportunity, like Greg mentioned, you can pick whichever path you want. You can go down the Federal Air Marshal path, the canine inspectors, aviation inspectors, um, finance, HR, legal. They like to hire within. Um, and they do have educational opportunities where they'll pay for your education if you want to stay within the Homeland Security realm, actually. So you don't have to stay with TSA. If you want to go to FEMA, ICE,
Oh, wow.
Border Patrol, citizenship, they do have those master's programs and associate's programs for under Homeland Security also. So those are the benefits to working just
That's
in
awesome. I did not
plumbing.
know that.
Yeah.
And also, what are the minimum requirements? Because maybe some of these kids maybe don't want to do the college thing. So, what would be the
Oh, yeah.
requirements
So
to get?
as a TSO, it's an entry level position. So right out of high school, a minimum age 18, high school diploma or equivalent. You do not need a resume when applying. This is entry level. There's no need for a resume. The process does take some time because you do have to go through a medical clearance interview process, fingerprint, which starts the background clearance. Since you're young, background shouldn't take long because they go back 10 years, but up until you're 18. So it only goes back, from when you turn 18 until now or whenever you apply. So background shouldn't take long. Also, availability of positions. Right now, we have a lot of availability and we're actively working recruitment events. We have one at Jackson State next week. We're at Delta State today, actually. My assistants are at Delta State. We're going to be at the Benny Thompson Job Fair next month. And we're going to do some on site applications. I might push that out to you, Greg, when we get our computers
Do it.
set up. They can
Do it.
apply and take
Do it.
the
We'd
computer
love to
based
have it.
assessment on site. And they do a level training a week, and they'll do training in 3 positions, and they work those 3 positions up until they need to go to, well, until there's a class available at the training academy in Georgia. I think they just opened one in Vegas, actually. So you attend that training academy for about 2 to 3 weeks, and you come back to your training airport and you finish your training. You are assigned a what we call on the job training coach. Another training for about another month. You take some job knowledge tests, and then you're certified, and then you're on your own. So
Yeah, and even though
it's
that does sound like a tedious process, like we said, TSA, like most government agencies, wants to hire from within. And there's so many job paths, like you said, the finance. TSA has some of the most cutting edge technology on the planet. And we looked at a little bit of that, some of the data systems that are the data systems and emerging technologies that are needing good tech people. You can get trained to start as a TSO. And the woman that we saw, that's the head of it in DC, said she started as a TSO in the field, worked her way up, was willing to be trained, had the availability, had the work ethic, and was able to work her way up all the way to an area director.
yes. So what I've been to headquarters. I've worked with a lot of senior leadership, and what I've discovered within TSA is that they're everyone that I've talked to, they're willing to show you the way. They're willing to give you the resources to be where they are, to help you move up. There's no one preventing you from getting to where they are. I mean, I've people at the top are like, here, we encourage you to learn what we know. There's no one preventing you from getting to the top or getting
Yeah,
to where you
and
want
along
to
those
be.
same lines, we went to Madison County schools. We hear the people say, I want to get out of Mississippi. I want to live in these big cities. Well, the TSA could be a great opportunity for that because, like you said, they like to move up from within, and a lot of those positions are at the larger airports in the larger cities. I know, you got DC, you got Chicago, Atlanta. You've been in Dallas, California. So all these big cities that are so attractive for people to live in, there are going to be opportunities there.
Yeah, there's going to be more opportunities in the bigger cities because in the smaller cities like here, people stay here to retire. There's very little turnover. But if you're willing to transfer, especially to headquarters, which is in Springfield, Virginia, there's always opportunity vacancies at headquarters,
Well, and so
and there
I
some
think
of
that's
them are, and they
but you
just
said there's
open like a
always
surplus.
vacancies.
Yeah,
I'm
they just
sorry.
open up a
I think we got a
surplus
little bit of a delay.
there is a delay. They actually just open up a surplus of IT positions too. So you
Yeah.
guys, if
So,
you want.
and again, TSA does all that training. So if once you get your foot in the door as a TSO, you learn the front line, you will to put in the work. TSA does a great job of training. Now, I did want to talk about the schedules because I know it's different from airport to airport. But I know in Jackson, y'all have the two schedules. You have the AM and the PM. So talk a little bit about that because it's not your typical schedule, but a lot of people like it. So talk about the different schedules at the airport.
Yeah. So it's of course it's based on the flight schedules, but in general they're about the same. So the AM schedule, at least on full time shift, they start about 3:30 a.m. They get off at noon. A lot of people love that schedule because they're off by noon. They have the rest of the day, especially those with children. You know, they're home before their kids get out of school and they still have time and have dinner and do homework and put them to bed. And then the PM shift, they come in about 11:30 to 8, I think. And that's the PM shift. That's full time. The part timers, they come in kind of in between, like in the mornings it's like 5 to 10, and then the 12 to 5. It varies. It's the flights always change, like especially during peak season, like summertime and Christmas travel. Those hours of operations will change, but that's in general what the shifts are like for Jackson. Now, you know, the smaller airports it's different. Like Greenville has like one flight a day, so they have split shifts where they'll work the flight and they'll leave to take like a break for 2 hours and they'll come back and then maybe work. You know, sometimes they'll have a second flight, depends on what date it is. So that's how that works.
Now, before I get to the students' questions, one thing I did want to also talk about is, if somebody wants to go to college, are there other entry spots in other areas in TSA to where they could get their foot in the door with federal government and then look to other areas of the government, or even other areas of TSA?
Um, with the college route, you would need to specialize in something if you want to utilize the college route into the federal government in general, like maybe a HR degree or a IT or paralegal. But really, once you get your foot in the door with the federal government, it's all about experience.
Yeah.
Like honestly, being transparent, I really didn't need my college degree in hindsight. But if you're specializing in something, it will help. I think other agencies it may help your salary, but TSA in general, once you get your foot in the door, it's up from there.
That's awesome. Now, and I think what's very important, and again, this is just going off what we've seen the TSA put out, is they're really looking for people, because at the end of the day, it really is a customer job. Even though you do have security protocol, you have to follow very strict FAA regulations and laws and things like that. You're there for the comfort of the passengers, because your job is to keep the passenger safe. You can't bend the rules on things. There are people that are very nervous about flying from the moment they step in an airport. You have to be able to communicate with them. And that is why we really push the practice of speaking, the practice of face-to-face interaction, because that is so important. And that is what, at least in my opinion, and I could be wrong, at least in my opinion, could set apart a really good TSO from just an average TSO.
I think you're delaying. Yes, so you do have to possess the certain skill sets of being able to present a professional appearance and demeanor when speaking with passengers, especially when they've had a bad morning or they may be coming back from a funeral or they have a lot of kids with them. They may have just never flown before and don't know the process. You have to be patient. They'll be angry with you, and in the face of provocation, you have to remain calm and stay focused and just follow the procedures. Don't take shortcuts, and just try to explain the process as calmly as possible, and try to ease the passenger, even if they're angry at you. Just remain professional, and not everyone can possess that skill set. Not everyone can be a I mean, Greg's right, and you'll learn. That's what the first week of training is supposed to help you determine if this job's for you. That's why they established level 1 training a few years ago.
Absolutely. And a big part of that is, when any type of government agency, any type of safety job, you have the black and white rules. So you always have that to back you up. It's not, things within the FAA regulations are not, there's no gray areas. If somebody complains about something, you can say, well, the law says this, this, and this. The policy of the FAA says this, this, and this. There's really nothing for them to argue about.
No, not really. There are inconsistencies at all the airports, but you just stay consistent with what you've learned and not take any shortcuts. Just follow your procedures that you've learned, and you won't have any issues.
That's awesome. Now, one thing I always like to talk about is you're very proud of your Vietnamese heritage. And I know your mother was a first generation American, and you still, unfortunately, deal with certain levels of discrimination against Asians. We talk about discrimination against different groups, but I think the Asian community is left out way too often when it comes to discrimination, because you still have people asking you if you speak English. You have people making unfair assumptions about you. That is just completely ridiculous. But at the end of the day, you are bilingual, or at least bilingual. But things like that can work to your advantage in this field. If you can, if you have a Vietnamese speaking passenger, you're there to help. We have students that complain about learning Spanish and learning sign language, but all of those things are needed in this area. If you can speak another language, if you can communicate with hearing impaired people, you can find yourself at a huge advantage to other people in this field. But back to what we were saying about the Asian community, that's stuff that you have dealt with and unfortunately still deal with. So what are just a few of the things that you've dealt with being an Asian American and a second generation American in this customer facing type job?
When I was a TSO, I guess a lot of passengers didn't take me seriously. Um, it wasn't direct. It would just they just didn't trust what I was saying, like because it was during the time when they had enforced new regulations based on some security related incidents that occurred in the news. And so they associated anyone that was a minority as a threat. And so they would ask for a supervisor that wasn't a minority. Take it how you interpret that, and it was. I just had to, stick to what I'm here for, and also that's just in my line of work. But in my being out socially, especially when COVID hit, we had those issues also because of where COVID originated from. Um, the stereotype that all of us, all Asians, look alike, that we all come from China, which is an ignorant statement. So when you're more culturally aware, you can educate others, to be more culturally sensitive towards those to start working in the public facing positions.
Absolutely. And I think, that's a great thing about the TSA or any other government organization, is that they really do promote that. So if unfortunately, a lot of our kids grow up sheltered, and, it's not their fault. They can't help where they were born and raised. But, if you want to experience those other type things, getting involved in the federal government, getting involved in the TSA, you really have the chance to experience all of that, which, I've had the opportunity to experience all kind of cultures in my life. And it's one of the most rewarding things that I've ever done. So not just getting to know Vietnamese culture, but African culture, European culture, Latin American culture, all of that is there in the TSA. And it really is such a great experience for the people that are there to have that family atmosphere, but you're working together with that common goal.
Yeah, and so the government actually recently started incorporate more diversity, equality, and inclusion in the recent years. And so they've increased training among the entire workforce on management and leadership, and encourage more women to serve in leadership positions, And then, of course, providing a more inclusive environment of everyone, whatever you identify with, gender, race, sexual orientation, religion, all of that. All of that is diversity, equality, and inclusion.
That's awesome, and I know that you've really been out in front of that. So really, anybody, no matter what group you fall into, the TSA would love to have people that are willing to work and work their way up within the agency. So I do have a few questions from the students, and these are all seniors. The first one is Kanala Banks. She's one of our volleyball players here, and she asked, "What is the best thing about working with the TSA?"
I said so many things about working with TSA. Well, for me right now is working here, I've been able to have a good work-life balance. This is my personal reason. I've been fortunate to work with a great group of people. We support each other. I have a really great supervisor, and I have a great supervisor. My boss's boss, he's really great. We all learn each other's department. So if one's out, we take care of each other. So perfect work-life balance. We do have a employee assistance program. So not only do we have good benefits as far as the health and the retirement side, they do offer financial wellness, some therapy sessions if you need it,
Wow.
and other personal wellness assistance. So
Wow.
it's not just about work.
That's awesome. And I think the other cool thing is because the TSA moves up from within so much, if you really had to and y'all had a bunch of people not show up to work, if you had to go out there and screen, you could do it.
I could, but I wouldn't be permitted to. But I still know all. Not a lot has changed. Some of the technology has changed, but I still know the basics.
Yeah,
I could still.
yeah, and I would say in any job, one of the most frustrating things is when your supervisors don't know how to do your job, and that would not be the case in TSA. And I think that to me at least, that's a big deal when it comes to having a good career.
Yeah, we cross train a lot. I think that's what the word I was looking for, cross train.
Yeah, there we go. This is a great question here. This is Tashanti Levy, a member of our band here at Velma Jackson. And she asked, "Do you ever wonder what your life had been like if you had not switched career paths to the TSA?"
Oh, all the time. So one of the many things I said I didn't know what I want to do, but I reflect back. I actually wanted to own a food truck. So I always wondered if I didn't work for TSA, where would my food truck be? So I actually would own a food truck. That would be my actually I think that would be my retirement job.
Yeah, it's never too late.
I encourage everyone to apply for TSA, but what you want to do is think about what would you want to do and love to do, and the way you figure that out is what are you willing to do for free. And I'm willing to cook. I love to cook, and I'll be willing to do it for free.
That's awesome.
I hope Greg will be willing to teach for free.
I don't know about all that, but I'll definitely eat for free whenever you're cooking. This is Katherine Johnson, and she asked, "What is the biggest misconception about the Transportation Security Administration?"
Oh, that we like to take everybody's bottled water and confiscate everything. They don't understand the why behind why we have passengers voluntarily surrender things. That's what the proper term is we don't take things, we don't confiscate, we don't make you do anything. We give you the opportunity to voluntarily surrender your prohibited items. So that's a misconception, and the majority of the passengers don't like TSA, and we try to change that perception, but sometimes somebody's perception is their reality. So
yeah, that's a great statement. This is an interesting question. This is Cody Myers, one of our basketball players here, and he asked, "What made you choose TSA out of all the other government agencies?"
All right. Honestly, the first answer that comes to mind because I didn't pass the test for the other government agency. So TSA was my second choice. Um, but in general, I've always wanted to work for the federal government after college. I know in college I really didn't know what I wanted to do, but after college, for that first 2 years, I knew I wanted to work for the federal government, and so I had a goal for that first agency that didn't work out, but I guess it worked out because I've been here over 15 years, and
That's awesome.
so it was meant to be.
That's awesome. All right, I just got two more. This is Cheyenne Harvey. She's our recently named Miss Velma Jackson, one of our cheerleaders here. And she asked, "Is it hard to
Congratulations.
maintain all the changing regulations?"
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, not just regulations, systems. We've changed. It's just HR. We've changed HR systems probably 3 times in the last year, and
Wow,
so TSA in general is always changing, and especially being a TSO, the procedures are always changing. So you have to be adaptable to change. That's one of the other qualities or abilities you need to possess is the ability to adapt to change and adapt quickly. Because if they say you need to do a pat down a certain way tomorrow, you got to be able to adapt tomorrow.
that's awesome. Yeah, and that's the thing, technology is going to be a big part of this. So these technology driven people, this could be a great organization to be working with to really make some big technology changes for the government. All right, last one. This is Quayshawn Sutton, and he asked, "What has kept you motivated throughout your TSA journey?"
Being in HR, it's about the people. I help not only the officers and the employees, but I also look out for the agency. Being in HR, you kind of have to remain biased. And my motivation is I'm here for the people. I know that sounds, cliche, but I wake up every morning. I do dread my job sometimes. It does get stressful, but I love HR. And I wake up and I was like, I have to review this medical, make sure my pregnant officer is okay. I have to make sure my TSO is going to get paid correctly. Like I like to resolve people's issues or questions. That's just in my nature, I guess. I like to help people.
That's awesome. Now we're almost out of time, and as always, we thank you for joining us. But before we go, a couple things. First of all, if these kids are interested, even at all, to get their, to look at the application, where can they go to find the application for TSA?
So not only TSA, but all federal jobs are on usajobs.gov. So USA jobs, one word, .gov, like the government gov. And you can look up transportation security officer and it'll pull up all the positions. If you don't see it, keep searching because they post them um, every 45 days or so. And if you don't see it, just keep searching because we have to request them to be reposted. So just if you don't see it, don't be discouraged. Just keep checking back.
Yeah, and then and please do give me that information that you're getting out so we can get this in these kids' hands because it
Yeah.
really is a great opportunity. But before we go, you're a Madison County Schools alum, just like everybody that's going to be an alum that's watching. You're from Mississippi, you went to school here, and you've carved out yourself a really cool career in a very necessary and great agency to work for. So, what can these kids do to kind of follow in those same footsteps? If they're in the same thing you say, they say, "I don't know what I want to do." Well, how can they use the TSA to figure out that and make themselves extremely successful?
Well, if you haven't, re- well, I know you show them the videos, but research the agency some more and the TSO position. If it still seems like something you're interested in, go ahead and apply. We do have that opportunity where we named it Level 1 training. It was specifically created to help you determine if TSA is for you.
That's
So you
awesome.
can onboard and try it out. And if it's not for you, you can It's okay. You won't hurt our feelings. If it is for you, keep on moving, and then we can help you figure out if you want to stay on the screening path and move up, or we can try to place you on the administrative side, depending on what path you want to take. I mean, I don't. The possibilities are endless, and we have positions actually opening up here soon. We have some canine positions opening up.
That's all. Yeah, and the canine thing is kind of new with TSA, and it looks so
It is
cool. So
new.
there's really all kind of Homeland Security jobs that did not exist even 5 years ago that these kids can get a head start on, and if they're gung ho about this, they can get their foot in the door and really move up quickly.
Yep.
And one of the best kept secrets out there. So again, I know you got to get back to work. I appreciate you fitting this in your busy schedule. Tina Terry, my high school classmate, my college classmate. So good to see you. Happy homecoming, and we will talk to you
Happy
soon.
homecoming.
All right, see you soon, buddy.